Got one?
Yep, I got one. Oh, whoa, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good fish.
You're listening to the Buckeye Kayak Fishing Trail Podcast.
What is going on, everyone? We are here. Thank you to everyone who has been so patient waiting for us to record a new episode and upload. We have a lot of people that listen and they say, when are you going to record another one? And we're here with Eric Manko. How's it going, man?
All right.
Yeah, dude, thank you so much for jumping on here. I cannot wait to talk to you about so many things. I want to say congratulations on the banana. You got the golden
banana. Yeah, you might have to change the intro music for this one because the golden banana rarely says, "Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one." That story is not part of this episode.
Yeah, that and I've got to start with something that you maybe you knew I would go here eventually, but I'm going to go here right from the beginning. If it wasn't for Chris Hannegan, would we know about that day that you had to win the banana?
No, because I rarely post. I am friends with guys on Facebook, but I just don't get on there that much. And so, and I would say I'd go even farther. If it weren't for Chris Hannegan, I wouldn't be fishing at BKFT to begin with. So that story started, I think, in 2016. So maybe 7 years ago. He said, come on up. I got a spare kayak, his wife's river kayak. He said, come up to the Lake Erie Harbor and he wanted to go pre-fish for a Saturday tournament. I said, oh, that sounds like fun. I had the day off. I went and fished and I caught some. Lake Erie East-West Harbor is a great place if you're just trying to start fishing. And it was a good part of the season. It was easy to catch them. And the Saturday then, I'm like, I'm still not, back then it was $20. I'm like, I'm not spending $20. I know that I'm not any good. And I said, I'll just take my own pictures and see how we do afterward. And that day, had I actually been registered, I'd have come in second.
Oh my
So
God.
then after that, I said, oh, well, maybe I can do this. So we started off very well. He still does very well. So does Sean Skidmore. But Eric Manko doesn't fish as much and hasn't done as well in lately. I'll just put it that way. So
yeah, well, you're doing better than me. My claim to fame is buying some lighting and audio equipment and then calling people and saying, "Hey, do you want to do a podcast?" So
okay, all right, that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair.
You finished many times. You finished, I don't even want to say top whatever, but top 10 for sure. You've had a bunch of events where you've done really well. So yeah,
Yeah, I think my last up there was maybe a third when we were by Mansfield. I don't even remember the name of that lake, but a couple years ago I placed third. So that's probably my highest in a little while.
Okay.
But I still enjoy it. I mean, bad day is fishing is still better than a day at work. And I'd go into it saying, just don't get skunked. And then it's try to get a limit. And then everything else is gravy beyond that. So,
yeah, I'm right there with you. I love it. I like to set out in the morning, and we all have those moments like it's whatever. We have big plans, right? We're gonna get on our spot. You can launch 30 minutes before, whatever. For me anyway, I'm always running late. I'll hear people sitting around the dock like floating in their boats, and here I am trying to last minute. But then once I get out there and I've got 5-10 minutes to go before line's in, I really try to just sit back and soak it in and enjoy that moment. And I've said it before. I made like a TikTok, I think, where I'm like, no one's more optimistic than a tournament angler like 5 minutes before line's in. This might be the day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hope springs eternal before the first cast. That's generally my Yeah, and I like to soak it in. Hopefully you get to your spot early enough where you can sip your coffee and kind of just wait for the sun to come up. And I'll usually do some Snapchat or whatever to share with the family at that point. But then once it's go time, then you get down to business.
Yeah. I think we even had a tournament 3 years ago. That tournament
Yes.
at Alum, I launched and I got out. And I didn't have a motor at the time. I started to pedal. I realized I left my coffee like behind the wheel in my truck on the ground.
Oh,
I turned around and
oh,
went back. I went back. I was like, no, no, we're not starting. We're not starting a tournament like this. I went back. That, whatever. I think did okay that day, but you've done really well. And what was it? Raccoon Creek. That was always a fun event, right? Yeah.
mhm.
Did you camp there, or did you always like do a like drive down and drive back?
I think Raccoon Creek, we did the early morning one because I think we had to get back that day after it too. I mean, we ate there and their food's always awesome too, but we had to get back for something. I don't remember. So I don't think we camped on that one.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. They even had like a swap meet last last weekend or 2 weekends ago. They had like a swap meet. Jason Lyle went down there and
Okay.
he sold a whole bunch of
That's such a good
gear.
idea because
Yeah.
honestly, we accumulate so much stuff, and when we move on to the next thing, we're like, I've got so much stuff that I'm like, I am not going to use that because I'm going to go through the stuff that I feel more comfortable with now. And who else will want that stuff? But that to me is a good idea. We should probably
Yeah.
incorporate more of that at our check-ins, maybe even.
Oh, that is a good idea because it's not even like I'm not even trying to get rich on it. Like
Right,
Jason
right.
had the
I'd
right
rather just
idea.
not throw it away. It
Yeah.
would pain me to throw it away. But if someone would give me 5, $10, oh, I'd be happy.
Yep. Yeah, he
And
he
for them,
sold
that
me
would be a steal.
it was. I bought a rod from him, $40, and he was like, "Well, let's put this reel on there." And he threw a reel on it. So I got a rod and reel, $40.
Yeah,
I'm so excited. It's gonna be fun to catch a somewhat average to small fish on it and then tell everyone about it.
there you go.
But listen, we gotta get back to the golden banana because I want to hear
Okay.
this was a mess. Like I've had some doozies. I've had some moments where I thought, what am I doing? Um, and that's kind of where the golden banana started
Right.
because I had an incident at East West Harbor. You guys can go check out Billy Kayaks on YouTube or not and hear how the inspiration of it, I guess. But so you got started
Right.
started the
For
beginning
me,
of the
this
day.
was my
Yeah.
first one of the year. So you're always, I don't know, I get panicked, I get stressed. I just feel like, oh, I'm forgetting everything. Do I have my ID right? Do I have my coffee? Do I have everything just ready to go? And I felt like at least we had pre-fished the Wednesday before that, I think, and hadn't. I think I caught maybe 4 fish that whole day that we fished. I'm like, I didn't really feel like I had much going, but I'm like, at least taking some pictures of fish and just getting back into that um, routine is good. And I remember I won national championship one down in Lake Caddo. I caught a 17 early in the morning and I took the picture and I put it back in the lake. And then I realized I didn't have my identifier on board. And I'm like,
Oh,
oh, that was so painful. That's worse. I'd say that was almost worse than my day here. But we got to the site early enough in the morning, got our kayaks offloaded. Um, by the time I got sort of my stuff, my gear in my kayak, he had gotten his stuff on the water and he's kind of raring to go. And he gets up and does it a lot more than I do. So he's got it down to a science and he's pretty quick getting out there. But for me, I'm trying to get my stuff kind of sorted out and go to turn on my fish finder and it was dead. I'm like, maybe it's just loose. I start playing with some wires and sure enough, nothing. And I couldn't really see where the battery was. It sat back behind the seat down under, and I couldn't really tell if those wires were good, but finally I just called Chris. I said, "Did you have any issues with this thing before?" And he's like, "I charged it up. It was full charge." I'm like, "Okay." And finally I just said, and he came, he got back off the water because we couldn't leave yet. It still wasn't quite uh, the half hour before. So he came back, we fiddled with it a little. I'm like, forget it. I'm just gonna go blind today. I thought I had one spot picked out that I caught two fish at, and I said, I'll just try that one and I'll just go from there. I don't need a fish finder. I'll just fish shallow and it won't matter. And so I get back in the boat and I'm starting to paddle, but now, I wasted time. I'm not going to get to my spot. I had probably a 15-minute paddle ahead of me, and I get started, and then I reach in my pocket and I'm like, my phone. I think I must have had it out to use as a flashlight when I was fiddling with that. I'm like, I don't have my phone. Like, it's game over. You can't take a photo of the fish. You can't upload them. You're done. Like, I must have just dropped it maybe when we were right there at the thing. So I go back to the shore and I'm looking for it, and I'm not seeing it. I'm like, it could have been shallow in the water. Had my headlight on. I'm looking for it in the water. I don't see it. And finally, I just start checking all my pockets, or maybe it fell on the kayak itself, and I'd stuck it in a different pocket that I didn't realize. And so at least I found my phone. All right, okay, now I'm back on the water. So let's get out there. And I had very low expectations for the day, so that didn't screw me up too much. But then I pedal. So I start heading out to my spot. I get there. I start looking through my rods, and I go back to reach one, and it is empty. My rod holder's empty. And I'm like, no, how in the world did I lose that? I did lose once when we were up on Lake Erie paddling. The paddle kicked the pole out, caught the reel and kicked it out, and I lost that in the water. I'm like, I wasn't even paddling. How did I lose that stupid pole? So I only carry 5. I know Chris has probably twice that size in his little setup, but like for me now, that's 20% of my fishing gear is gone. So then I'm looking around and trying to count my others and make sure I got them. Then lo and behold, I pull the one out. Somehow, in us maneuvering these things, the tips had gotten interconnected, and it had pulled it out of the holder. But I drug it across the lake 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and fortunately, it was still there. So still don't have my fish finder, but I do have my phone, and now I found my pole. So I thought, okay, this is, at least I'm ready to start fishing. And I think I was able to catch my breath there for a second.
Yeah. And then, I guess this is kind of where the story, for me anyway, this is where it gets really interesting, because then you end up with a really good finish. Like, there were 80. This was okay. So for anyone listening
84.
that doesn't, what'd you get?
Or no, was it 84 anglers or 89?
87.
87.
Yeah,
there was
were
a
80.
lot.
Yeah, 87 anglers. You've got to be the only one that had that start to your day. And then where'd you end up finishing?
I think I finished 8th.
Yeah, which was, you cash a check.
I cashed a check for $150, so I got my $75 entry fee back, and I have one more to go for the next one. So
there you go. Yeah.
Any day you cash a check, that's a good finish.
Yeah. And by the way, this is not scripted at all. Did you fill out your 1099 tax form?
It took 2 tries, but Neil did send me something, and it finally went through.
And then did you get paid?
And I actually got paid already too.
There you go. So
there you go.
And the next event has not happened. So right. I know there's a lot of I don't want to say whatever, but there's a lot of stuff going on out there behind the scenes with a lot of trails where people are like, give me my money. I get it. I get it. You want your money. Like, listen, I never had that problem because I never win money. But Eric Manko wins money. So he wants his money, and you won. I want to get back into a little bit more to see how you got 8th place.
Right.
But do you
I'll
play?
say my morning troubles weren't over though.
Oh boy. I'm going to turn it back over to you. All right.
My first second cast up toward the bank, I had a monster hit on my lure, but before I even had reaction time to set the hook, it was gone. And I've had these in Canada where pike have very sharp teeth, and they'll just cut your line faster than you can do anything. And Chris says there's not pike in there, but he says there is muskies,
yeah,
which he caught one, a nice one, a few just last week or the week before. So I do know they're there. I'm guessing that's what it was. So it broke me off, and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to bother to retie right now. I was going to head back up this creek entry into a cove, and I'm like, I'm just going to go back there first and try a different lure and see how it goes. But I couldn't make it quite back to the mouth of the creek because of some overhanging trees. And I'm like, well, I think I can cast through there. And sure enough, I was able to cast through there, but I also got hung up on another tree back there. And I thought I could just usually yank on it and rip it free, and it'll come back to you or smack you. But this time it was stuck, and I'm like, I already just lost one. I'm not losing another one. So I have to, because of the overhanging things, I got to get all my other rods back down on the thing to kind of maneuver back through this cove. And by now I've scared every fish that was going to bite through that with the racket I'm making. So there's no way I'm getting anything. Although I said, before I go back there and try to get that thing unstuck, I'll just toss around me with another. It was out of the water. It was in a tree. So I wasn't fishing 2 poles, but I'll just try another one right now before I go back there and ruin all my chances. And 5 feet away from me, I caught like a 13-inch. So at least I was on the board with something. And I thought, okay, well, all right, it wasn't all for naught. But then I wasted 20 minutes of that early bite trying to go back here and get this stupid lure out of a tree and then work my way back out of there. And fortunately, then I was able to, and I went back to the spot that I was going to plan on, that I'd caught 2 in my pre-fishing. I'll just try there. That seems to be the most promising. And sure enough, I got another big hit, and it severed my line right away. And I'm like, that's 3 issues in, I don't know. It was definitely within the first hour. I think it was even less than an hour. So,
oh wow.
But after that, my spot did pan out, and I was able to get, well, at least since I got bit, I thought, well, at least there's fish here. So I kept throwing in that same general area, and I did get 2 more, a 12 and a 14 or something like that, but they were at least legal size, and a dink 11 or something. Like, okay. So I went through the rest of that cove, and in another creek, I was able to pick up one more. It was small again, a 13 or something like that. So I thought, okay, I at least felt like I was catching something. And then I had given my spot a rest. And I'm like, I didn't, from my pre-fishing, I'd caught one other fish, one other place. I really had no idea where to find them. And with no fish finder, I'm like, the spot's paid off. I let it rest for a while. There weren't any other people back there really in my area fishing. So, well, there was a bass boat there. While I was all tangled up, there was a bass boat that moved in, but he had left. So either he didn't catch anything or what, but I thought, oh, great. That was the one spot I knew of. And here he was. hitting it ahead of me. And all I can think is he didn't do well, because then I came back to it a second time and was able to get like a 15 or 16. So within 2 hours, maybe, I think, I was able to get my limit from that one small spot. And I'm like, okay, I was at least happy about that. Normally, I would call Chris and say, hey, I was able to get fish, and uh, how we're throwing and where you're seeing them. Are you seeing them shallow? Are you seeing them? But no
But
talking.
yeah, no talking. New
Yes,
rules.
exactly. So again, I say Chris is the one who got me into this. There's catching a fish is great, but if you can't share that news with someone who actually appreciates the fact of how hard it is sometimes to catch fish, and some days you go all day without catching any,
Yeah.
that sucks. But what I could say was, did you look at the leaderboard? And I had already uploaded my fish at that time. So the leaderboard standings were fair game, I figured, and I could say, okay, well, I've got 5 up there or whatever. But yeah, so then I left that and went and tried some other points. One inland cove. It was through that tunnel, that little right next to the southeast dock there in
Okay.
there, and went through that. But I caught. Oh well, I can't say I caught nothing over there. I got high sided on a stump. There's a bunch of stumps back in there, and I thought, okay, I'll just get out of the kayak. I didn't really want to, but I'm like, I'll just get out, because I couldn't paddle past it, and or to get off of it. And I'm like, okay. And then but I didn't have my fish finder, so I didn't know how deep it was. I just took my paddle and I stuck that down, and it went all the way down, and I
Oh
never touched
wow.
the bottom. And I'm like, this is not a stump. I'm on a tree
Yeah.
that is like at least 10 feet off the ground. I'm not going to be able to get this thing off. So finally I was able to lift the rudder up and start pedaling. My pedals were ahead of the stump, and then I grabbed my paddle too, and between both of those, and kind of, I think I moved forward. I tried to move my weight forward on the kayak. Somehow I was able to get off, but I was stuck there long enough where I'm like, if I have to call like a ranger to get me off, am I disqualified from the event? And I didn't know that answer, and I guess I'm not going to attempt it. So I
Yeah.
made a few more attempts to try to get loose, and finally was able to.
You can get help if you're in a situation. You can call help. Even a friend or another angler can help you out of trouble. But the moment you're not in danger anymore, they have to, disengage.
Back off.
You should have called Chris. That would have distracted him from his
Yes.
angling. Yeah. Or Skidmore
And
or
then I would have not heard the end of that either.
yeah. Yeah. Well, good job, man. That's fun, and then you said, 8th place, 70 some dollars. So sounds like, depending on the baits that you were losing, you might have lost 20 or $30 in lures. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what were you.
No, they were cheap. I'm too
Oh, okay.
cheap. I do everything on the cheap. So no, it was not like others who are throwing $35 lures out there. I'll not name names, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I do it, not 35, but I throw the expensive. But I have a pole, like an extension pole. It's a like 20-foot
Oh,
telescoping pole. Yeah, I'm like, it's the
yes.
ones you would have in a bass boat. And
Right,
I lug that thing with me because I'm like, I'm not losing
right. I
you
would
know,
do the same. I
yeah.
would do the
And
same.
if I'm not going to carry that pole, I don't think I have any business throwing those baits. So and I have, I've talked about it before on the podcast. I have 4 teenagers live here with me. So tournament fishing, podcasting that's not my full-time job. I have other things going on. I have the kids and the family and all that. Same thing with you, right? You
4
fishing.
daughters, but all
Yeah.
mine are out of the house. Now,
Yeah.
since that point, we've decided to pick up a foster son. So we have a 17-year-old now back in our house. But generally, he's working and staying with his relatives. So I do generally have free reign to go and fish when I can.
I love to hear that. So does that mean you're going to fish East West Harbor on the 20th of May?
No, because I'm going to be at Camp David. I'm hoping. As
Oh,
long as the president decides not to go to Camp David that weekend,
yeah.
my nephew is stationed there, and he is going to give us a tour of the base. So I'm not going to have that
Yeah.
opportunity. I have fished Lake Erie, and of all the tournaments, I mean, East West Harbor is hard to beat. That's a good, like, the harbor is just, if you aren't the best fisherman, everybody can usually catch fish there. So that's what I
Yeah,
like about it,
for sure.
and that's where I started. So
So 3 daughters or 4 daughters and
four
a foster
daughters,
son
one
was not
married, one
that was not enough.
fiance.
You had to you
Right.
had, you had to call in the nephew for the Camp
Yes.
David trip.
Yes.
Look at you. That's kind of exciting.
Yes. Well, I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So
Okay. Maybe this is the dumbest question ever. When you go there, can you buy souvenirs?
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it's not
They
dumb.
they have it's actually in their, I don't know. They have a bar there that has a billiards and a 2-lane bowling alley and maybe a 50-seat movie theater.
Oh wow.
And they also have then different stuff with insignia. So I was able to go last fall, and I got like I don't know, an Under Armour pullover thing with that Camp David seal, presidential seal on it. So it's
Okay.
pretty neat.
Well, what's pretty neat is this is not your first trip. You've been there
Yes.
before. So
Yes. So, and I went with his parents, my sister and brother-in-law and my wife. So he
okay.
can only have 4 guests at a time, and this time we are taking my wife's parents, who he was a vet, and I think he's gonna get a good kick out of it. He's big on history and stuff too. So the library there has all these Christmas cards since Eisenhower, Truman, of their kind of thanks to the Navy Seabees are the ones who maintain it, and that's why my nephew is, and just their thanks. So it's kind of neat to see the presidents, how they show appreciation to the staff. There's tons of different things there, like Churchill and, I want to say, Truman, sitting on a log by this koi pond, which my nephew strongly told me there's no fishing on Camp David grounds. But when they were discussing World War II strategy, or whether the U.S. was going to get into the war, I think at that point. Um, so there's definitely a lot of history has happened there. Camp David Accords between Egypt and I don't even remember who else. Egypt and Israel, maybe a peace plan there, and
Wow.
so yeah, lots of things have happened there, and it's brimming with history. And the Marines guard it, and you have to have all your background checks done ahead of time, which my nephew just told me today we all passed. So I'm thankful
Okay.
for that.
They didn't know
And
about the Alum Creek event.
oh, right.
They didn't know about that before the background
I
check.
didn't mention that, so
No.
we won't publish this until after I go next week. Right.
Yeah.
So it'll be good.
And that's cool. So thank you, to him for his service and all that. That's absolutely amazing. But are you a veteran too, or?
No, no,
Okay, me
no.
neither, but I always want to ask, and
Yeah.
it's so, to me, it's kind of, we love the fishing, and we get into whatever career, and we have kids, and we do all the things
Right.
we do in life. Oh my gosh, I hate to sound like an old man, but you blink and it's like, wait, that was 30 years ago,
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
And it's so crazy how the timing works out. Because I don't know how old you are, but with the first Gulf War, I was in like 8th grade. We went to DC. I bring it up because my daughter is about to go to DC in 2 days
Okay.
for 8th grade trip. And
yeah.
yeah, and I didn't get to go in the 8th grade because of the first Gulf War. And then, and then the rest of middle school and high school played out. And then I was just out of high school. And then, 9/11 and all that stuff happened. So it's just, it's crazy. And then I think about, not to make this about service and all that. But, and then I look back at, you know, my dad is in his early 70s and I look at his age and then the Vietnam War and I'm like, man,
Yeah.
it is so, it's so crazy to me how much your, your age and where you are in that exact moment without a draft. And I know Vietnam, there was a
Right.
draft, but post Vietnam without a draft, it's so crazy how much your age and, you know, what you have going on in life. So, so thank you to him for his service. And man, I hope you really enjoy that. That's a lot of fun. Back in the old days when the presidents used to go to Camp David, when they didn't go golfing,
Right.
golfing every day. That's where all the decisions are made now, I think. I'm not sure.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
What I learned the first time around was the reason the Navy are the ones running this camp in the woods, which is inside of a like a state park or a national park already. It's very nondescript entry. Um, the the park we stayed at the park on the park grounds. We did not stay on base, and the park rangers don't mention it. They don't tell you. They just say it's in the vicinity, and that's all they'll say about
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Um, but the Navy runs it because I guess the presidents used to have presidential yachts. And when he got rid of the yacht, then he had all these Navy crewmen on there. He's like, okay, well, go build me a cabin in the woods and we'll keep that up. And then it just stuck. So that's what they've been doing.
Oh, I love it. And as a reminder, I know you already mentioned it, but no fishing. Do not.
No fishing in the koi pond, but this time we're staying at a B&B that has a some farm animals and a farm pond, and I can bet you I will be fishing on my Camp David trip for sure.
Well, hope like maybe we'll see some updates. I know you say
Right,
you don't go on the Facebook and update everyone, but
right.
there's a really big following BKFT and Buckeye Kayak, Buckeye Nation Kayak Angler. They're like I think like 90% of my or more of my Facebook is fishing.
Speaking of posting fishing, so I told you before we started, I'm headed to New York City tomorrow morning, and I my goal for the 3 days I'm up there is to go to Central Park and try to catch a bass. So I've already studied the regulations. I can't have to get rid of the barb on your hooks, and you can't have lead weights. But other than that, you don't actually need a license to fish in Central Park. So I am going to do my best. And if I catch one up there, then I will post that for the Buckeye Nation to see that
I love it.
some Ohio native was able to snag a bass.
I can't wait to see it. So what does that even mean? Like the bar, you squish it, like you smash your hook.
Yeah, what we did in Canada, because we couldn't have them up there either, just take your pliers and kind of smash the barb
Okay.
down. So yeah,
Yeah.
generally that. No, it could be that I will get up there and be stopped by a ranger, and he will tell me that that is not sufficient enough, and then I'll be paying whatever fine it was. So we'll
Yeah.
find out. I'll let you know later.
We'll find out. But you're not afraid. No.
Oh no, I'm still
Eric
casting.
Manko. Like,
If I get up there and I have time, I'm still throwing something in that water. That's the great thing about fishing. You never know what you're going to catch. So the little bit of reading I did was they give you corn kernels and a lot of people catch carp, but I do not want a smelly carp. I want a bass. So.
oh, that's the worst. The carp. I even went the crappie. I forgot how much crappie can stink up your clothes and your hands and your boat. Yeah, there's something about the carp though. They stink. Hannegan let you, or not let you, kind of forced you. I think he kidnapped you actually and took you out onto the water in the kayak. Is that the kayak that you're still using, or did you end up getting one of your own? Or
No, and my personal kayak is a 10-foot Prodigy that I paddle, and it's a sit-in one. So I do not use that for my long 8-hour fishing days.
yeah,
Fortunately for Chris, he always has to have the best of everything, and so he eventually upgraded his wife's kayak to another Hobie Compass, which he graciously allows me to use when he's in his Pro Angler 14. So as all things go, that's a pretty sweet gig, which is why when I do post to Facebook, I always tag him as hashtag Hannegan Sport Fishing as my sponsor because
Oh,
that's
nice.
a pretty sweet ride.
Yeah, I love it. That the Hobie Compass. That's the other one that I have. I have a PA 14 and then a Compass, and that's
Okay.
what my son fishes out of. And then when I
Hmm.
go to smaller bodies of water, I take
Right.
that. But
That's
I
his
think about
river. And then I use generally, he's got a third one that is his small river kayak. So yeah.
oh, nice.
And then I
Okay.
paddle that one. But so
Okay.
far, so good.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. So we got, if you keep winning like you've been doing, you gotta maybe get you down there to.
Something worthy. But you know what? The kayak is cheap. Then I need something to haul it. And then I need a place to store it. And
Yep,
so yeah,
it's where it all starts.
you know how that goes.
Yep.
Give a mouse a cookie.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, clearly with the angling and all that, like this is not your first rodeo. You can't go 87 anglers, and with the current rules we have, and you set someone out there, and especially with the morning that you had and all that, that doesn't just happen. Clearly you know what you're doing. So I just want to say good job, man. You had a really good day. I know the golden banana is kind of a fun way to
Yeah.
say someone had a horrible day, but I feel good about the golden banana when someone cashes a check
Yes.
and they still
Yep.
win the golden banana.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I understand why you're not going to the East West Harbor, but
Right.
do you have any plans for any of the other ones?
I've got the others marked on my calendar. So, and honestly, this one, the first time we were supposed to go, the president actually showed up, and that's why it's a month later, and it just happened to fall on this date. So I wasn't planning on this out of the box, but sometimes you just got to go when you can. So I'll take what I can get. And
Heck
I
yeah.
hope to see everybody else out there. And just because everything does not appear to be going your way in the first 5 minutes, don't give up hope. It only takes seriously sometimes, a couple casts and all of a sudden you're back in it. And for me that day, and then I went to another point and I started picking up some fish too. I think that day I had about 10 keepers and about 5 dinks. So for when I pre-fished and only caught 3, I think that was an amazing day. Once you get those 5 in, then the weight feels like it's lifted a little bit, and then I could just go and just keep trying to find them, and it was okay if I didn't, and I lucked into a few more. So
Right. One other thing I want to ask you. I know you said you're from, did you say like Akron,
Akron,
Akron area?
Akron,
And then now
lived
you
in
live in the
Cleveland a bit, and then
Columbus
have been
area.
down in Columbus since
Yeah.
late 90s.
So, and if it wasn't for Hannigan, like I may have never met you, whatever, but you're a Buckeye, right?
Yes,
Okay, just
yes.
want to get that out of the way. That's all. And just kidding.
I see Ohio State behind you there.
That's right. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. So I used to have just a plain gray wall or whatever, but
Okay,
yeah, when I'm not
like
fishing,
it.
I'm thinking about the Buckeyes and the Bengals
Yeah.
and
Yeah, and Chris is a huge Buckeye fan too. Sometimes he'll
yes,
throw Penn
100%.
State out there, but don't let him
Yeah.
fool you.
Yep.
He's a Buckeye at heart.
Is there anyone else that you want to, I know if you're like me, I have no,
No, I would just say thank you to my wife Marty, who lets me go play, and my girls. Some 2 of my girls have picked up fishing, and they'll actually ask me sometimes. I never say
nice.
no. So yeah, I'm just blessed with the family I've got, and fishing is a great hobby, great gig. And it's sometimes when I don't catch, it's still nice to be out there listening to the birds, listen to the frogs, crickets, whatever, and
Yeah.
just enjoying nature. So
Yeah. You
yeah,
see an eagle fly over,
yes,
or that is
you're
so,
coming down to eat at the water, whatever, drink at the water. It's a good hobby. It's good and
yeah.
relaxing.
Yeah.
I think it went well.
It was amazing. So I love it, man. All right. Well, can't wait to see you out there in the water. And thank you, everyone. Hope to see you guys at East West Harbor. Tight lines, everyone. Bye.
See you.